What I'm about to reveal will fundamentally change how you think about electric vehicles, Tesla, and the future of transportation in America. While Elon Musk has been selling Tesla as the future of clean energy and sustainable transport, he's actually built the most sophisticated surveillance network in human history. Every Tesla on the road is essentially a government spy device disguised as an eco-friendly car, and the implications for American privacy and freedom are absolutely terrifying. This isn't conspiracy theory. This isn't speculation. This is documented. Fact based on Tesla's own technical specifications, patent filings, and privacy policies that most customers never read. By the time I'm finished explaining what's really happening, you will understand why buying a Tesla isn't just purchasing a car. It's volunteering to be monitored, tracked, and controlled by a system that knows more about your daily life than your closest family members. Let me start with Jennifer Martinez, a 38-year-old marketing executive from Austin, Texas. Jennifer bought a Tesla Model 3 in 2020 because she wanted to reduce her carbon footprint and take advantage of federal tax credits for electric vehicles. She loved the car's performance, the sleek design, and the feeling that she was doing something positive for the environment. But Jennifer had no idea that her Tesla was recording and storing detailed information about every trip she took, every location she visited, every person she met, and even conversations she had inside the vehicle. She didn't know that Tesla's cameras were capturing footage of her garage, her driveway, her neighbors' homes, and anyone who walked past her car. The reality hit her in March 2023 when Jennifer went through a difficult divorce. Her husband's attorney subpoenaed Tesla for data from her vehicle, and Jennifer discovered that the car had been recording her location 24/7, tracking her speed, monitoring her driving patterns, and even storing audio recordings from inside the vehicle. The Tesla data revealed that Jennifer had been visiting a therapist she hadn't told her husband about, meeting with a divorce attorney weeks before she filed papers, and spending time at a friend's house where she was staying during their separation. Information that should have been private became evidence in her divorce proceedings, ultimately affecting custody arrangements for her children and the division of their assets. Jennifer's story isn't unique. It's becoming routine, and it represents just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how Tesla and other electric vehicle manufacturers are transforming cars from transportation devices into comprehensive surveillance systems. But before we dive deeper into Tesla's specific surveillance capabilities, we need to understand how we got here and why electric vehicles represent such a fundamental shift from traditional automobiles. This isn't just about replacing gas engines with electric motors. It's about replacing mechanical systems with digital systems that can monitor, record, and control every aspect of vehicle operation. Traditional cars from the pre-digital era were essentially mechanical devices. Your 1985 Honda Civic couldn't spy on you because it didn't have the technological capability to collect and transmit data. Even cars from the 1990s and early 2000s had limited digital systems that focused primarily on engine management and basic diagnostics. But Tesla vehicles are fundamentally different. They're computers on wheels, with more processing power than the servers that ran major websites in the early 2000s. Every Tesla contains multiple cameras, microphones, GPS systems, cellular modems, Wi-Fi connectivity, and sensors that can monitor everything from your heart rate to the conversations you have with passengers. Tesla's current vehicles include 8 external cameras, 1 interior camera, 12 ultrasonic sensors, 1 forward-facing radar system, and a GPS unit that provides location accuracy down to within 3 feet. These systems operate continuously, even when the car is parked and turned off. Tesla's Sentry mode explicitly monitors and records activity around parked vehicles, ostensibly for security purposes. But here's what Tesla doesn't prominently advertise. All of this surveillance data is transmitted back to Tesla's servers in real time via the car's built-in cellular connection. Tesla knows where every one of their vehicles is located at all times, what routes they take, how fast they drive, where they park, and who they encounter along the way. The scope of data collection is staggering. Tesla's privacy policy, buried in legal language that most customers never read, reveals that the company collects vehicle location, speed, acceleration, braking, steering, and other vehicle operation data. They also collect audio recordings from vehicle microphones, video recordings from vehicle cameras, and biometric information such as voice patterns and facial recognition data. Think about what this means in practical terms. Tesla knows if you speed, where you speed, and how often you speed. They know if you drive aggressively, if you brake suddenly, if you take routes that deviate from GPS recommendations. They know every address you visit, how long you stay, and what time you arrive and leave. The interior camera can identify who's in the vehicle using facial recognition technology. The microphones can record conversations, phone calls, and even detect emotional states based on voice analysis. Tesla's AI systems can determine if you're angry, stressed, sad, or excited based on your driving patterns and vocal patterns. But the surveillance goes far beyond just monitoring the primary driver. Tesla's cameras and sensors record everyone who comes near the vehicle. If you walk past a Tesla parked on the street, that car might be recording your face, your license plate, your clothing, and your behavior. If you visit someone who owns a Tesla, the car in their driveway is likely recording your arrival and departure. This creates a surveillance network unlike anything in human history. With over 3 million Tesla vehicles on the road worldwide, and hundreds of thousands more being sold every month, Tesla has created a privately owned surveillance system that rivals the capabilities of government intelligence agencies. And unlike government surveillance, which at least theoretically requires warrants and judicial oversight, Tesla's surveillance operates with virtually no legal restrictions. When you buy a Tesla, you consent to comprehensive monitoring by agreeing to terms of service that give Tesla broad rights to collect, store, and use your personal data. Elon Musk has been remarkably open about his intentions for this surveillance network, though most people haven't been paying attention to what he's actually saying. In multiple public statements, Musk has described Tesla's ultimate goal as creating full self-driving vehicles that are connected to a central AI system that can coordinate transportation across race cities. But full self-driving isn't just about making cars autonomous, it's about making transportation controllable. A centrally managed transportation system where individual vehicles can be remotely monitored, directed, and if necessary, disabled, represents unprecedented power over human mobility and freedom. Consider the implications. In a world where most vehicles are connected to Tesla's network or similar systems from other manufacturers, the ability to travel freely could be subject to digital control. Your car could refuse to start if you haven't paid certain fees, if your social credit score is too low, or if authorities decide you shouldn't be allowed to travel to certain locations. This isn't science fiction. The technological infrastructure for this level of control already exists in Tesla vehicles. Every Tesla can be remotely updated, remotely monitored, and theoretically remotely controlled. Tesla has already demonstrated the ability to disable certain features in vehicles remotely, adjust charging speeds based on external factors, and even disable vehicles entirely in certain circumstances. The Chinese government has already implemented similar systems with domestic electric vehicle manufacturers. Chinese EVs are required to transmit real-time location data to government servers. and authorities can track the movement of any vehicle in real time. The Chinese government has used this capability to monitor political dissidents, restrict travel for people with low social credit scores, and control population movement during COVID lockdowns. American officials have expressed concern about Chinese surveillance capabilities in vehicles, but they've been remarkably silent about domestic surveillance by American companies like Tesla. This double standard reveals the hypocrisy in how surveillance is discussed. It's only concerning when foreign governments do it, not when American corporations create the same capabilities. But Tesla's surveillance network raises even more troubling questions when you consider Elon Musk's other business interests and his political evolution. Musk owns Twitter, X, Starlink satellite internet, Neuralink brain-computer interfaces, and SpaceX, which has significant government contracts. Through these various companies, Musk is building an integrated technology ecosystem that could potentially monitor and influence multiple aspects of human life. The combination of Tesla's vehicle surveillance, Twitter's social media monitoring, Starlink's internet connectivity, and Neuralink's brain interfaces could create a comprehensive surveillance and control system that exceeds the capabilities of any government in history. And unlike government agencies, which are at least theoretically accountable to democratic oversight, Musk's private companies operate with minimal public accountability. This brings us to one of the most concerning aspects of Tesla surveillance capabilities: the company's evolving relationship with government agencies. While Tesla operates as a private company, they have significant contracts and relationships with federal agencies, including the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy, and various intelligence agencies. Tesla's Gigafactory in Nevada, for example, was built with significant government subsidies and tax incentives. The company has received billions of dollars in government support through electric vehicle tax credits, renewable energy incentives, and direct contracts. This financial relationship creates potential for government influence over Tesla's data collection and sharing practices. We knew from Edward Snowden's revelations about NSA surveillance that intelligence agencies routinely work with private companies to access user data without traditional warrant requirements. Programs like PRISM allowed the NSA to collect data directly from tech companies including Google, Facebook, Apple, and Microsoft. It would be naive to assume that Tesla's vast trove of location data, behavioral data, and surveillance footage isn't of interest to intelligence agencies. Tesla vehicles provide real-time surveillance of American cities, tracking the movements and activities of millions of citizens. This information could be invaluable for intelligence agencies, law enforcement, and other government entities. Tesla's terms of service include provisions allowing the company to share user data with government agencies under certain circumstances. While the company claims to require legal process for most data sharing, the terms are broad enough to allow significant cooperation with government requests, but the surveillance implications extend beyond just government access to data. Tesla's comprehensive monitoring creates massive security vulnerabilities that could be exploited by foreign governments, criminal organizations, or malicious hackers. In 2021, security researchers demonstrated that they could hack into Tesla vehicles remotely, gaining access to cameras, microphones, and driving controls, while Tesla fixed those specific vulnerabilities. The incident revealed the inherent security risks of connected vehicles. Any system that can collect and transmit data can potentially be compromised by attackers. Foreign intelligence agencies have particular incentives to target Tesla's surveillance network. Access to Tesla's data could provide foreign governments with detailed intelligence about American infrastructure, military installations, government facilities, and the movement patterns of key personnel. Chinese hackers have already targeted American automotive systems multiple times, Russian intelligence agencies have shown significant interest in American technology companies. The idea that Tesla's surveillance network is immune to foreign penetration is unrealistic given the demonstrated capabilities of state-sponsored hacking groups, but even beyond foreign threats. Tesla's surveillance system creates risks from domestic, bad actors, corporate espionage, stalking, identity theft, and other crimes could all be facilitated by unauthorized access to Tesla's data systems. The company stores detailed information about millions of Americans' daily activities, including their home addresses, work locations, family relationships, social connections, and behavioral patterns. This information would be extremely valuable to criminals, private investigators, abusive partners, or anyone else seeking to monitor or harm specific individuals. Let me tell you about David Chen, a Tesla owner from San Francisco who discovered that his vehicle data had been accessed without his knowledge. David worked as a software engineer for a defense contractor, handling sensitive projects related to military technology. In 2022, David noticed unusual behavior from his Tesla. The car seemed to be directing him to take different routes than usual, and he occasionally found the vehicle's systems activated when he hadn't used the car recently. After consulting with cybersecurity experts, David discovered that his Tesla had been compromised by what appeared to be a sophisticated hacking operation. Attackers had gained access to his vehicle's systems and were using the car's cameras and GPS to monitor his activities, including his visits to secure government facilities. The hack wasn't random. David's work on classified projects made him a valuable target for foreign intelligence agencies seeking information about American military technology. His Tesla had become a surveillance device being used against him by hostile actors who could monitor his movements, record his conversations, and potentially compromise national security information. David's case illustrates how Tesla's surveillance capabilities create national security vulnerabilities that extend far beyond individual privacy concerns. When millions of vehicles are connected to centralized data systems, those systems become high-value targets for foreign intelligence agencies, terrorist organizations, and other hostile actors. But the surveillance concerns aren't limited to Tesla. Other electric vehicle manufacturers are implementing similar data collection systems, often with even less transparency about their practices. Chinese companies like BYD, which is rapidly expanding into global markets, have extensive data sharing requirements with the Chinese government. European manufacturers like BMW, Mercedes, and Volkswagen are implementing their own connected vehicle systems with comprehensive monitoring capabilities. Even traditional American automakers like Ford and General Motors are transitioning to surveillance-enabled electric vehicles as they phase out traditional internal combustion engines. This means that the Tesla surveillance network is just the beginning. Within the next decade, the vast majority of new vehicles sold in America will have similar monitoring capabilities, creating a comprehensive surveillance infrastructure that monitors the movement and activities of virtually every American driver. The regulatory response to this surveillance expansion has been inadequate and often counterproductive. Government agencies that should be protecting consumer privacy are instead promoting electric vehicle adoption without addressing the surveillance implications. The Biden administration's infrastructure bill includes massive subsidies for electric vehicle adoption and charging infrastructure, but virtually no requirements for privacy protection or surveillance limitations. Federal agencies are spending billions of taxpayer dollars to accelerate the deployment of surveillance-enabled vehicles without adequately considering the privacy and security implications. State governments are similarly negligent. California's aggressive electric vehicle mandates will force consumers to buy surveillance-enabled cars whether they want to be monitored or not. Other states are implementing similar requirements without addressing the fundamental privacy issues. The result is a policy environment where surveillance expansion is being mandated and subsidized by government agencies that should be protecting citizen privacy. American taxpayers are being forced to fund the construction of surveillance networks that monitor their own activities. But the most troubling aspect of electric vehicle surveillance is how it's being implemented. Without informed consent, most Tesla buyers have no idea they're purchasing a comprehensive surveillance device. The marketing focuses on environmental benefits, performance, and technology features, while the surveillance capabilities are buried in lengthy legal documents that most people never read. This represents a fundamental violation of the principle of informed consent that should govern the collection of personal data. People have a right to know when they're being monitored, what data is being collected, how it's being used, and who has access to it. Tesla's marketing materials emphasize the car's environmental benefits, safety features, and technological innovation. They don't prominently feature statements like "this vehicle will record your location 24/7 and transmit that data to our servers indefinitely." The company's privacy policy is written in dense legal language that requires specialized knowledge to understand. Key surveillance capabilities are described using technical terms that don't clearly communicate the scope of monitoring to ordinary consumers. This deliberate obfuscation allows Tesla to claim that customers have consented to surveillance, while ensuring that most customers don't actually understand what they're agreeing to. It's a deceptive practice that would be illegal in other industries but somehow remains acceptable in the automotive sector. The lack of meaningful consent is particularly concerning when you consider that many Tesla purchases are influenced by government incentives and mandates. Federal tax credits reduce the effective cost of Tesla vehicles, while some states are implementing regulations that will eventually require electric vehicle purchases. This means that Americans are being incentivized and eventually forced to buy surveillance devices through government policies, while being kept ignorant about the surveillance implications of their purchases. It's a perfect example of how corporate surveillance expands through the combination of government support and consumer deception. But beyond the consent issues, Tesla's surveillance network raises fundamental questions about the future of transportation and mobility in America. Are we creating a system where the freedom to travel depends on accepting comprehensive monitoring? Are we building infrastructure that could be used to control and restrict human movement? These questions become more urgent when you consider how quickly transportation technology is evolving. Today's electric vehicles are just the first generation of connected, autonomous vehicles. Future vehicles will have even more sophisticated surveillance capabilities, including real-time facial recognition, emotion detection, biometric monitoring, and AI-powered behavior analysis. The trajectory is clear. We're moving toward a transportation system where privacy is impossible and surveillance is ubiquitous. Every trip will be monitored, every destination will be recorded, and every interaction will be subject to analysis by AI systems that can predict and potentially influence human behavior. The Chinese social credit system provides a preview of how comprehensive transportation surveillance could be used for social control. In China, people with low social credit scores are restricted from buying plane tickets, train tickets, and even car registrations. Their movement is limited based on their political activities, social associations, and compliance with government directives. American corporations and government agencies insist that such systems would never be implemented in the United States. But the technological infrastructure for social credit-style control is already being built through electric vehicle surveillance networks. Consider how this infrastructure could be used during future emergencies, political crises, or social unrest. Authorities could track the movement of protesters, restrict travel to certain areas, or disable vehicles belonging to people deemed problematic. The same systems being marketed as convenience and safety features could become tools of oppression and control. The COVID-19 pandemic already demonstrated how quickly emergency powers can be used to restrict movement and monitor population compliance. Contact tracing systems, travel restrictions, and lockdown enforcement all relied on digital surveillance technologies. Future crises could see even more aggressive use of transportation surveillance systems. Climate emergencies could justify restricting travel to reduce carbon emissions. Public health emergencies could enable tracking of individual movement to enforce quarantines. Security threats could allow authorities to monitor and control transportation in real time. Once the surveillance infrastructure exists, it becomes much easier to justify its use for various purposes. Mission creep is inevitable when powerful surveillance tools are available to government agencies and corporate entities with their own interests and agendas. This brings us to the most important question facing every American considering an electric vehicle purchase. What can you do to protect your privacy and freedom while navigating the transition to electric transportation? The unfortunate reality is that completely avoiding surveillance-enabled vehicles is becoming increasingly difficult as traditional automakers phase out internal combustion engines and governments implement electric vehicle mandates. However, there are strategies that can minimize surveillance exposure and preserve some level of privacy and autonomy. The key is understanding what data is being collected, how it's transmitted, and what technical measures can limit or prevent surveillance. First. It's important to understand that not all electric vehicles have the same surveillance capabilities. Tesla vehicles are among the most surveillance-intensive cars on the market, but other manufacturers have different approaches to data collection and privacy. Some European manufacturers like BMW and Mercedes offer more granular privacy controls that allow users to disable certain data collection features. Some electric vehicles from traditional automakers have less sophisticated surveillance systems than Tesla's comprehensive monitoring network. When shopping for an electric vehicle, it's crucial to research the specific surveillance capabilities of different models and manufacturers. Read privacy policies carefully. Understand what data is collected, and look for vehicles that offer meaningful privacy controls. Second, understand that many surveillance features can be disabled or limited through vehicle settings, though manufacturers often make these controls difficult to find and use. Tesla vehicles, for example, allow users to disable some data sharing features, though the controls are buried in menus and the company continues to collect certain data regardless of user preferences. Most electric vehicles allow users to disable features like voice recognition, location sharing, and remote connectivity, though doing so may limit some vehicle functionality. The trade-off between convenience and privacy is one that each individual needs to evaluate based on their specific needs and concerns. Third, consider technical measures that can limit surveillance capabilities even when official privacy controls are inadequate. Signal blocking devices can prevent vehicles from transmitting data to external servers, though this may cause some vehicle systems to malfunction. Covering or disabling cameras and microphones can prevent audio and visual surveillance, though this requires technical knowledge and may void vehicle warranties. Some privacy advocates have developed guides for physically modifying electric vehicles to limit their surveillance capabilities. Fourth, understand your legal rights regarding vehicle data and how to exercise them. Many states have laws requiring companies to provide access to personal data they've collected, allowing you to see what information your vehicle has gathered about you. Some jurisdictions also have laws requiring companies to delete personal data upon request, though enforcement of these laws is often inadequate. Understanding your legal rights and exercising them consistently can help limit the accumulation of surveillance data over time. Fifth, consider the broader political end. Economic implications of your vehicle choices. Every electric vehicle purchase contributes to the expansion of surveillance infrastructure and provides financial support to companies building comprehensive monitoring systems. Asterisk, if privacy and freedom are important to you, consider supporting manufacturers and advocacy organizations that prioritize consumer privacy and oppose surveillance expansion. Your purchasing decisions and political choices can influence how transportation technology develops in the coming years. But individual actions alone won't solve the fundamental problems created by transportation. Surveillance systems protecting privacy and freedom requires collective action, political engagement, and policy changes that address the root causes of surveillance expansion. Asterisk, we need federal privacy legislation that specifically addresses vehicle surveillance and provides meaningful protection for transportation data. Current privacy laws are inadequate for addressing the comprehensive monitoring capabilities of modern electric vehicles. We need transparency requirements that force manufacturers to clearly disclose surveillance capabilities and provide meaningful consent mechanisms for data collection. The current system of burying surveillance disclosures in lengthy legal documents is fundamentally deceptive and should be illegal. We need technical standards that prioritize privacy by design, ensuring that surveillance capabilities are optional rather than mandatory features of electric vehicles. Manufacturers should be required to build vehicles that can function fully without transmitting personal data to external servers. Most importantly, we need public awareness and political pressure that treats transportation surveillance as a serious threat to freedom and privacy. They see that it represents the current approach of promoting electric vehicle adoption without addressing surveillance implications is creating a surveillance state by accident or design. The window for preventing the worst outcomes is closing rapidly. Every month, hundreds of thousands of new surveillance-enabled vehicles hit American roads. Every year, the surveillance network becomes more comprehensive and more difficult to dismantle. But there's still time to change course if enough Americans understand what's at stake and demand better alternatives. The choice between environmental sustainability and personal privacy is a false choice. We can have electric vehicles that don't spy on their users if we make surveillance limitations a priority. The question is whether we'll wake up to what's happening before it's too late to change course. Tesla's surveillance network represents just the beginning of a transformation that could fundamentally alter the relationship between individuals and technology, between citizens and corporations, between human autonomy and digital control. Elon Musk has built a surveillance system disguised as a car company, and millions of Americans are voluntarily participating in their own monitoring because they believe they're saving the planet. The environmental benefits of electric vehicles are real, but they don't justify the creation of a surveillance state. We can have sustainable transportation without sacrificing fundamental privacy and freedom, but only if we demand it, fight for it, and refuse to accept that surveillance is the inevitable price of technological progress. The choice is ours, but only for a limited time. The surveillance infrastructure is being built whether we pay attention or not. The only question is whether we'll shape it to protect human freedom, or whether we'll wake up one day to discover that our cars have become our jailers.